Hi, Kapil. Thanks for your time. Growing up, I was always a sensitive and weak kid. And so, as I've been getting older, closer to my 30s now, I've been trying to become mentally a bit more resilient and physically more resilient too, to kind of protect myself from the emotional and physical assaults of the world. Um, Over the last couple of years, I felt that I have become a lot stronger, um, in physically and emotionally. But sometimes it still fluctuates, and I have felt like I haven't arrived at where I want to arrive. So my question to you is,
So what does emotionally stronger mean?
it really just means that, um, not letting my thoughts affect me as much, so to speak. Like just not submitting to my thoughts, and being unstable and running around emotionally in that way. And or like if people are, I don't know, if people are like emotionally assaulting me or bullying me, not letting that affect me as much as it used to.
And how has that been going?
It's been a lot better in the last 5, 6 years or so, but um, it's still not where I want it to be.
And what does better mean?
Um, Better would mean for me that it simply wouldn't, it would bother me less. Like I wouldn't care what they were saying. Like I wouldn't let that trigger me in any way.
And was that done internally by force?
Um, I'm not sure if it's forceful or not. It's more. I mean, I guess there is. Sometimes there's effort, or like just the acknowledgement, like, oh, I let this person affect me this much, and but I wouldn't say it's like a force. Like I'm trying to ignore the emotion. I've tried that before, and that doesn't work.
So what's your question?
So my question is, since this is fluctuating, does this mean that this is simply another chase as opposed to making a significant or a true arrival?
Well, I mean, what does it really matter if it's a chase or not a chase? Because that's why I asked you those questions. What does better mean? Where are you now with it? What does stronger mean? So if I told you it was a chase, would well, let's say I said, okay, it's a chase. So would you then abandon the things that made you feel, in your words, emotionally stronger or quote better? Would you go back to the prior way if I said it was a chase?
I don't think I would. I think it would just help me understand.
So then if you wouldn't, then it really doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Because what happens is that people what they do is they sort of, and they do this by habit, that nothing is done, you know trying to be
Sure.
ignorant or anything. It's just what the world does to people, right? And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. So the world prescriptionizes, right, everything. So the only thing that's available in the world is prescriptions. Like there's no such thing as part of the world doesn't prescriptionize.
Right.
Some experts don't prescriptionize. Like that doesn't exist. There's only one.
Yeah.
There's only one thing, which is prescriptions. It's just a matter. The only comparisons are who prescribes what. This guy prescribes this, and this person prescribes that. So only the prescriptions differ. But there's no such thing as no prescription. That doesn't exist, right? No prescriptions.
Yeah.
And as a result, when that's the only thing that a person has ever known their entire life, then naturally, logically, inevitably, when they read what I write and what I talk about, they bring that only tool that they have, with which they've been taught by the world,
Mm-hmm.
and they try to turn it. They turn what I write into a prescription and say, "Oh, that's this, and oh, that's that, and I can't be doing that because that's wrong, and I want to stay away from that because that's
Yeah.
wrong." And so they make this framework out of it based upon the tools and the rules that they've been using in the other domains of the world. And that doesn't work in what I do, because um, everything that I write about isn't about, what to do, what not to do, it isn't about any of that. So the entire like planet is different, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's some people come and they hate it, right? It's not for them. So I'm not saying it's better or for. I'm just saying it's a different universe, right?
Yeah.
So, like, all the rules are like, gravity goes the other way. You know what I mean? It's so you cannot bring the tools and the rules from the world into my domain, because they won't work. And so when you say, is it a chase? What you're sort of doing without necessarily recognizing it is, you've turned chase into this don't do thing, right?
Oh, I see.
You've turned it into, right? You've said, oh, that's bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So now, and it isn't like I use chases in a good way. Yes, when I say it's a chase, I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I literally am saying that chases, lead back to themselves, and they're a circle and they don't really go anywhere. But but that's but that doesn't. You'll never get to that by playing the rules game, right? You'll never, like, I never got to that by saying, oh, don't chase because
Yeah.
that's bad.
Right.
Like, that's a bad, right? I never played the prescription game. So, uh, so when you look at the word chase and you turn it into a prescription, then it has no meaning, because then and it's the same thing with prescriptions. People come and they say, oh, you're saying no prescription. First of all, I didn't say no prescriptions. I said they don't work,
Hmm.
but I also said 4 million times that you shouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
I also said 4 million times that don't believe what I say. You examine things for yourself, because it's only if you examine things in your own experience, and because you've been prescriptionizing your whole entire life, so you have a lot of data to mine, you have a lot of experiences under your belt to provide evidence for, that you can go through and see, okay, did they work for me or not? And if they did, great, go ahead and keep doing it. Um, so it isn't about prescriptionizing it, and that's why I asked about those things, because they were practical. If you're in a place which you find to be superior to the place that you used to
Yeah.
be, then, like, don't make, like, why prescriptionize anything? And then that's why I asked you, would you go back to the old place? And you said no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then it doesn't matter, right? So it's about practicality. It's about reality. Um, it isn't about turning things into do's and don'ts and goods and bads and positives and negatives and prescriptionize this and that. That's just a habit, that was created in the world, and then it was sort of brought over here.
Right. Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Sure.